What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Spectators. My name is Julian. I'm here with my boy Brooklyn. As always, happy 4th of July, everybody. What's going on, brother?
Going good, bro. Happy 4th of July to everybody. Like you said, good to be back. Shout out Gerard for taking my spot last week.
Yes, sir.
NBA draft happened, so you know what that means.
There's always something that follows. It's free
There's,
agency time.
there's always something that follows, and man, free agency has been wild so far. There's been some spicy stuff going on. Before we get into that, what you been up to?
Not a whole lot, but I am excited to be back with you this week. And we're gonna get into it. The free agency's been really fun. And not so much for you, but for a lot of other reasons, free agency's been a good time, and we would be remiss to not start with that because that is really just the true news out of everything, and it's not news anymore, but still something we haven't talked about yet. So,
Yeah.
Kevin Durant has formally asked the Nets front office for a trade. Now, granted, this is a weird situation where it's not going to be a sign and trade or anything like that. They could just very well choose not to trade him. I doubt that's going to
Mhm.
happen. He'll probably wind up somewhere. And he said that his preferred destination is Phoenix or Miami. Who would have thought that Kevin Durant would want to go to a team that was in first place in the conference, and those are the only two teams he wants to go to? Crazy.
It's ridiculous. And you're probably not going to get the whole emotion out of me that
No, it's
the
it's it's
spectator
it's days ago now.
that the
Yeah,
spectators and everybody else got,
yeah.
but
He said, "Don't call, don't text."
don't call, don't text, because it's embarrassing. It's
Yeah,
embarrassing because like Kevin Durant literally chose the Nets. He's the one that said
he like orchestrated the whole thing.
that I want to be in Brooklyn. Cool. Kyrie wants to be in Brooklyn too with KD. Cool. They want to form the super team.
Yeah,
The organization does every little thing that they could possibly want. Everything. You want this player? Cool, go get him. You don't want him? Get him out of here. Draft picks? Fuera. Go get Harden for it. Get Harden out of town. Do all this. Get this guy. Go give DeAndre Jordan, who's a bum. Go give him all that money. Do all that. Give them everything they want. And then with Kyrie, go support him through everything that he does with the off the court issues, on the court issues, not wanting to play. When he does play, who knows what's going on? With all that being said, the organization has backed them on everything. And then when it gets a little too tough, because whatever happened last year, cool. It was a freak season. Nice. Year before that, everybody gets hurt. Nice. All that. The organization backed them. And then they won out. It's embarrassing. I've been defending both of them. You could tell you for a minute.
a while,
Been defending both of them. I'm
long
done with
time.
that. I'm on that. Even if they stay, if we decide not to trade both of them,
Don't even want him anymore.
I don't be hiding. I'm here. We're not rocking with them because
Nah, they're a
it's
lot,
an
bro.
embarrassment to the NBA altogether. Because like
Well,
you,
it's one of those things that like you're a fan of the team and you see that these guys are really good, and you're like, okay, I know that they bring everything that they bring in terms of like the drama and everything, but they're on my team now, so I can try my best not to care. And then once it starts to actually affect the team, then it's like it's like it's the ultimate red flags, right? You go on a date with a girl, she tells you like, I hate commitment. That's like the third thing she says to you, but you're like, but she's so cute. So you try, make it work, but you want to settle down one day. If she hates commitment, you got told what was going to happen beforehand. That's kind of what happened with KD and Kyrie. You knew the kind of guys they were before this. And KD's a little different. Like, he gets called a snake and all this when really he's just a dude who wants to play basketball. But he wants to play basketball by like focusing on like other stuff that like makes it hard for him to play back. If you really just wanted to go play basketball, you should have just stayed in OKC or Golden State. You could have just done that.
yeah,
Like, you don't have to go and get $45 million deals to go just play basketball. So one of those things, but again, we'd be remiss without talking about that. It is kind of old news at this point, but we haven't had a trade for them yet. For both of them, they would have to be traded, and I just don't know how much they're going to be able to get back because it's those situations that like when Paul George got traded a couple of years ago, they didn't get a whole lot for him, like when he went to the Thunder, because he said he was not going to resign.
Yeah.
So it's like when you say you don't want to be there, your value drops halfway already. And
The thing is, with KD, you are going to get probably the most historic return in NBA history. With
maybe,
Kyrie, it's with
yeah,
Kyrie, I don't think so, just because of everything you get with Kyrie. You
yeah.
really don't know what's gonna happen.
You have no idea if he's even going to want to play.
So it's like
Yeah.
you don't take that risk and give up the farm for Kyrie. Kevin
Kyrie,
Durant, that's the best player in the one of the best players in the league. You
yeah.
get him on your team, whatever it takes. Because forget about the drama, forget about if he stays, he's there. And when you have Kevin Durant on the team,
And
you
he's
have a
healthy.
chance.
Yeah, you're good.
You have a chance. So
One
you
thing,
make that happen.
one thing interesting with Kyrie too, he's more likely to get traded to a Western team or a team not in the Atlantic division, because if you go to Toronto, he can't play. And he obviously won't play for the Raptors because he will not be able to play. So,
Yeah.
um, weird little things like that. And then the Nets have this whole issue where they can't have the second rookie extension max get traded to him. So there's like a laundry list of teams that are essentially out of trade talks because they can't get another guy because they went and got Ben Simmons last year. Everything the Nets have done has hit them back in the face, and this is like a 15-year track now where it's like continual bad trades, continual bonehead moves in the front office, and at least it's not out of lack of trying. Like, I could still be a fan. I'm not a fan of them, but like if I were a fan, I'd be like, you know what? At least they're trying and they're trying to put good products out there. Shout out, but you're
And that's what I've always liked.
yeah, but
That's what
they're
I've always
they're
liked. And
bad.
again, when you get a player like Kevin Durant, like of course you want to feed into their wants and their needs, right? Because that's your star
Yeah,
player. That's what you're building your team around. So as an organization, your hands are tied because it's like, oh, we don't want to do that. Oh, you don't want to do that. Well, I came here because I'm giving you guys
yeah,
me.
yeah.
So are you guys not going to do what I want?
But again,
Because that's pretty much what it is. Like that, those star players have an organization in a chokehold at most times. So now they're kind of forced to do that. And again, when you choose to come here and now they're mortgaging their future off of your demands and what you want and what you think is best for the team, and then they do all that, it doesn't work, and now you want out. So now forget about the whole team and the organization because now that you're not happy, you're just gonna up and leave because it got too hard, and then you're gonna ask to go to the two best teams in the league.
that's the worst part to me. It's like, here we go again. KD
Like, are you
loses to the
kidding me?
Warriors, goes to him. KD can't make it work in the Nets. Bet, let me go to the Suns, who were a year removed from a finals, and they were just a one seed. Let me go to a Heat team that really needs a scorer, but even without that, they were just a one seed. They were a game away from the finals last year. Like, come on, bro. Come on, man.
It's
But
ridiculous.
it's okay because you mentioned that it might be the highest yield to get KD back in a trade. And we just saw one of the highest yield trades ever for a guy that I don't think any of us would have expected to take this much to get. Rudy Gobert gets traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this deal wasn't surprising that it happened. I actually really like the fit of Rudy Gobert in Minnesota.
I do too.
I think that this team is built to win regular season, and then they're gonna get to the playoffs and kind of choke, unless, hear me out, unless Anthony Edwards is him, and he might be. So we'll kind of test that. We have another year of him developing, and that floor spacing will be a lot better over there now. But they give up essentially 5 first round picks. They give up 4 picks plus this year's after the trade. So essentially 5 first round picks for for a max contract center that doesn't score, that isn't a good facilitator, and doesn't
Yeah.
space the floor at all. So I don't know, man. Like, if here's kind of how I look at it, right? If you wanted a rim protector that couldn't score and was only like a rim runner and a dunker, why, if you're Minnesota, why didn't you just go make a run at like Mitchell Robinson?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you just go like, hey, Mitch, what did the Knicks offer you? Cool, add 15 million to that. Like, and then you save all your picks. You get the same guy essentially. Obviously, Rudy Gobert is a significantly better defender. This is not me putting them in the same category, but like,
And that's what they're banking on. They're banking on him being the
A
defensive player of the
significant,
year,
yeah,
like he can be. And then you have Karl Anthony Towns, who is proving that he could be a force in this league, and it's only getting better
yeah.
behind the arc, inside the paint, all that. And then I mean, you got
One of the best
Anthony.
big man shooters ever.
Yeah, and you got Anthony Edwards hoping that he takes another step. You got D'Angelo Russell still excelling in um his development. So it's like you put all those pieces together, you bring back Kyle Anderson, you make stuff happen.
Yeah,
You make stuff happen, and I on paper this team is very good because
yeah,
especially that front court of Cat and Gobert, that's going to be a problem.
yeah. Now, just the issue becomes depth, right? They give up not only all
Yeah.
those picks, but then they also give up Patrick Beverly, who obviously was really important to important to this team in terms of defense and like energy, right? Like they won the play-in game and he went nuts. That's awesome. And we had all the memes about it, but that's what you love to see. Like they won a play-in game
Oh,
to get to the
absolutely.
playoffs. You should be excited about that. This shouldn't be another day in the office. No, because if you're done, you wouldn't have another day in the office. So,
Yeah.
and that was the first playoff series Minnesota won in the Wild. It meant a lot, right?
Yeah.
They get rid of Pat Bev and they get rid of Malik Beasley, and Malik Beasley was fantastic. This team was one of the best defensive and offensive teams in the league last year because they had great perimeter defense. Malik Beasley and Pat Bev were a good part of that. So they pretty much traded 3-point shooting and perimeter defense for really strong interior defense. And I don't know
In a
how.
league that you don't really have to worry about that all too much.
Well, and obviously we saw with Robert Williams in the finals that having a really elite interior defender is game changing, right? We
Of
saw that.
course. Yeah.
But again, that's Robert Williams. He's not a max deal. He's not a 5 first round pick kind of a guy.
But now, if that was the difference maker to the point where like that could make or break you, Boston would have a ring.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's great. You love that interior defense.
You know, maybe if
But
Robert Williams was healthy, maybe that would have been. Who
maybe,
knows? Who knows?
maybe. But you still need to stop those ridiculous scores behind
Well,
the
and you're
arc.
in the West too, so like, how are you gonna
You got problems out
Stephen
there.
Clay?
You got problems out
Why are
there.
you improving your interior defense when you have Stephen Clay on the other side
And like
and Devin Booker? Like,
I love me some D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards. They're not matching up with Stephen Clay.
no, and I love Ant. Ant's actually amazing. Ant's
They
like,
could probably match up with CP and D Book,
yeah,
maybe.
they probably match up with
But
every other backcourt in that
yeah,
side, maybe off the
but
top of my head. Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting. And
yeah,
I'm excited to see this team because Minnesota's in the conversation now. Like last year
yeah.
they started getting there. They're in the conversation now. And that's
Well,
cool.
and I got a call from Harry like a little bit after this. He called our group chat and he was like, "We made a trade. We're trying to get better." And it's like what we said about the Nets. The Timberwolves have never actively tried to get better. Obviously, through
No.
the draft, they have a little bit, and they made that trade to get D'Angelo because the Wiggins experiment didn't work, and so they've moved pieces around, but they've never like gone and gotten a guy that they didn't need to get. And this was that, and it was an example of them at least trying. So this will
Yeah.
get fans in the stands. Now, part of the issue too is Gobert was clearly not clicking with that team. It might have just been a Donovan Mitchell thing. I actually think it's more so of a Donovan Mitchell thing than it was a Gobert thing. I think Gobert's fine. Like obviously the COVID stuff really impacted him, and like that relationship over there, it's crazy when you create COVID. Uh, it's actually wild. Like Rudy Gobert is like the true like if you're looking for a start point of COVID's like concerns in America, it's literally with Rudy Gobert, which is pretty funny. But
And with Donovan Mitchell, like I feel like he's a little more laid back with like maybe confrontation just off of outside looking in. Anthony Edwards,
he'll get in your
him being
yeah.
he even though he's young,
No,
he will
he'll get on you.
he'll get up on the little soapbox and be right up in Rudy's face like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, and
So
you know
I feel like that's gonna help Rudy a
I think so
lot.
too.
And I feel like that's gonna bring a little dog out of him too. And maybe we get past those playoff blunders that we usually see. So
Maybe.
that would be cool.
That would be nice. Anthony does remind me of Jimmy Butler, which is funny because Jimmy
Yes,
Butler had a whole
that's
issue.
exactly.
He had a
Yeah,
whole issue in Minnesota, but he's a younger Jimmy Butler, so he relates more to Cat and relates more to D'Lo. And I don't know.
yeah.
It's a weird trade. I actually think the Timberwolves get better. I don't know how much better they get playoff wise. Like I don't think they're a contender. At least not right now. We'd have to see it on the court.
They need
but
more depth. They need
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
depth.
You have to see
That's
it on the
gonna
court.
kill them in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Regular season,
yeah.
great.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice. What's another deal you want to talk about? I think I want to talk a little bit about John Wall going to the Clippers because this one, for whatever reason, is getting really overlooked.
This is another one of my winners. Like Gobert going to the Timberwolves, one of my winners. This is another one right here because
This is,
John Wall on this team
yeah,
is
and
scary.
it's
It's very scary.
you know what this is very reminiscent of, right? John Wall gets traded to the Rockets, doesn't really play. He played a couple games, got hurt, pretty much just didn't play all of last year because
Never really expected anything out of that either.
no, like the team was bad. He kind of just got sent
Yeah.
there as a salary dump. That's kind of just what it was. And so, well, it was a that trade was like Westbrook for Wall, right? And so like the Wizards were trying to be good and it was a weird one. But so Wall goes to the Rockets. He doesn't really play. They tank because they tried to lose. They didn't really want him on the court because they were trying to lose. John Wall is still one of the premier athletes in the game. I know he hasn't played in like 2 years now. He is still one of the premier athletes in this game. I don't know what happened to his shot. I don't know what happened to his defense. I don't know about what happened to any of his skills because we haven't seen him. But he is still going to be faster than 85% of this league because that's just who he is. And he's more athletic. He's the best guard blocker of all time, which is a weird thing to say, but like he is. And John Wall added to a team that's already very defense first with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You have three incredibly athletic, lengthy, and versatile stars, because I'm still going to call John Wall a star because we've never seen him be bad, right?
Yeah.
Why in the world wouldn't this team be really good? The Clippers have two top 15 players, and then John Wall's a top 40, 50 guy, probably closer to 50.
This is a big three in the league that nobody's talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And they got him for cheap because he got bought out. He made his money. He got bought out.
Yeah.
They got him for cheap. And
As long as they could just stay healthy, and they got depth. They got Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Robert Covington. You still got Kennard, Terrence Mann. Like
it's a good
you
team.
bring back Batum. You got Zubac down there. Like this team, as long as they're healthy, they are a contender right now.
Yeah, and they played really, really well at the end of last season without Paul George. Paul George came back at the very end, but this team already like jostled themselves into position to get into the play-in tournament without two top 15 players in the NBA. Add two top 15 players healthy to this team with a John Wall. I don't see why they don't end up as a top 3 seed in the West.
Yeah.
And obviously stuff happens, but
yeah. And just because this team hasn't been like right at the Western Conference Finals doesn't mean they haven't been knocking on the door of being championship material.
Yeah.
They've been right there, just like you said, stuff happens, a couple of injuries, a couple of just things that don't click, they're not getting there.
Yeah.
But this is very much the thing that is going to take them to the next level. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, John Wall, the league got to watch out. Because that is scary. That is very, very scary.
I think we all forget that just a couple of years ago, Kawhi was maybe the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And he had a historically great finals run. And, you know, that was years ago at this point now, but it's not like he's still not that guy. He just didn't play this last year. So.
And you know how it is.
Yeah. It's out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And then once they get back, they're like, damn. We were sleeping, huh?
Yeah, you were sleeping. You were sleeping. Do you have a loser for free agency so far?
The Washington Wizards.
Okay.
Because Bradley Beal opts out of his contract, right?
Yeah.
Cool. We all knew this man was just opting out so he can go get more money.
Yeah.
And no hate to Bradley Beal. Go get your bag. I don't care how much they're giving you. Go get your bag. But now the Wizards, you guys are dumb for giving him the bag.
Why even
because
offer
you guys are poverty right now.
Horrible.
So why are you giving what was the number, like 240 something?
It's like 43 a year. So
you go give him that for what? Go build your team, bro.
Yeah, dude.
go build your team. Like
Go
you,
rebuild, please. We know you
like
guys don't know how to draft, but please
you
try.
got you got Porzingis, you got Kuzma. Like you guys can maybe make something, maybe, but Beal is he's not fitting there, and Porzingis and Kuzma and Beal aren't gonna be scary to anybody. They look at
No,
that and
bro.
they're just
Who's
like,
worried about that
okay,
on the who looks at the
okay,
Wizards on like the schedule and they're like, no, you're just like, okay, let's hold Bradley under 50 and we win.
exactly.
That's all we have to do.
Like, why not just trade him or do something? Try to get something in return. Build for the future because nothing that you're gonna get right now is putting you over the hump. So now you're just giving him all this money. You're handcuffing yourself, and you guys are just continuing to be mediocre. And this is the trend of the episode today. At least trick your fans that you're trying to be good. Pretend you're trying to make
Pretend,
moves.
man.
But just keeping your star player because you guys love him and that's what you guys have had, it's not
Doesn't
good for the team.
no,
It doesn't do anything.
doesn't do anything. And I think I'm gonna piggyback off that real quick and go to a winner real quick. Is the San Antonio Spurs? The San Antonio Spurs looked at the landscape of the NBA, right? They looked out and they said, okay, guys, let's look. That team, the Warriors, they're not going to be bad anytime soon, right? Then they look over at the Suns. Like the Suns are really good right now too. They're going to lose DeAndre Ayton, but they're still going to be a good team. The Clippers just got John Wall. Look at the Nuggets. Like, oh, the Nuggets are really healthy now. This is just the West I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is just the West. So they looked at all this and they're like, okay, we have a really young talent with DeJounte Murray, and that's kind of it. If we can trade him and just hit the reset button right now, get as much as we possibly can for a young guy on a cheap deal with a couple years left, we can start our rebuild now. And by the time these teams are on their way down, we could be on the way up and be those teams. And that's how it needs to be in this league. You're not going to be good and you're not going to win a championship by staying in the middle for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years and hoping one day it just clicks. That's not how it works. Because as you're hoping it clicks, other teams are rebuilding and getting better. 3 years ago, the Suns were horrible, but now they've been the 1 or 2 seed in the West for the last 2, 3 years. It's because they rebuilt through the draft. They had years worth of busts, like so many of them. But eventually it clicks. So when you're bad enough for a long enough amount of time, you get your draft picks and you make it happen. They got 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray. That is incredibly good. And now they're going to be bad. So now they're going to have good picks coming in the next couple of years. They get these other picks from Atlanta. I'm not even convinced Atlanta's going to be good.
They'll be better.
They'll be better. But I'm not even convinced yet. I will say DeJounte is also a winner because there was a quote from him. He was like, I'll always have respect for the Spurs. They told me they want to do a rebuild and that they didn't want to waste my youth going through a rebuild. So I have incredible respect for them and they're always family. I'm like, it's crazy how like, it's really cliche, right? But it's the, if you love them, let them go.
Yeah.
Because there's a better situation out there and you're trying to do one thing and they're trying to do another and they don't line up.
Nope.
So you can have the respect for each other by letting both of you pursue those things. That's kind of what it is. And the Wizards are losers because they're not doing that.
No. And I'll give the Hawks a winner too, just because going out and getting DeJounte, like, that's going to be great for your team.
Also, a salary dump with going already was a W.
Yeah, and I mean, that starting group right now, along with Bogdanovich, like,
pretty nice.
They're pretty dope.
Pretty nice.
But piggybacking off of what you were saying with the rebuilds, I feel like teams are more like attracted to a retool instead of a rebuild.
But when does that work?
Like, it doesn't. But that's the thing.
Unless you're the Warriors, when does that work?
It's like they're just going off of the looks. They don't want like the true connection. They just say, "Oh, she's cute. Let me go talk to her." Well, all right, yeah, go talk to her. But now she's dry as chalk. And that's what the retool is. You go get somebody, and then they just don't fit. They don't fit because of what you've already had there wasn't working. So now you're just plugging this random player That's shiny, looks good. You're like, oh, he could shoot, he could play defense. Cool. Okay. Now you have all this who they're not really that good at doing all those things. You put them together, you might get a little better, or you might get a little worse because now the chemistry is just terrible. Nobody's knowing how to play with each other. So you try to do the retool, and it just ends up everybody gets shipped out 3, 4 years later. When you could have rebuilt those 3, 4 years earlier, and now you're probably in the
Mm.
Eastern Western Conference Finals in those years. So it's like they just want the win now, and then teams and organizations they don't look at the whole bigger picture of it, and that's a big issue with sports in general. They want the shiny thing. They don't want to wait for the good thing. So
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of fans are kind of that way too. It's like I want my
of
team to be
course,
competitive. I want my team to be good,
of
and that's
course,
completely understandable. But
of course,
sustained success doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come via trade. It doesn't come via a single free agency pickup. It comes via creating a team and a culture and a winning. I mean, not to switch sports, but like the Houston Astros were a horrible team. They were the worst team in baseball for 4 years. And I
yep.
mean the worst. It wasn't really close. They were terrible. They got first overall pick, third overall pick, first overall pick. They get Carlos Correa. They get Alex Bregman. They get Jose Altuve. They get Kyle Tucker. They get Yordan Alvarez. They get all these guys.
They switch leagues.
They
They
switched
drop
leagues.
the
Shout out.
hill.
They went to the
They
worst division in baseball. That's
they drop the hill in center field.
But like they did all these things to create a new culture as they were bad. They intentionally weren't good. They didn't try to be good. They've been the best organization in baseball for the last 7 years now. Unless you want to count the Dodgers. Like
And this is coming from Yankee fans.
they've been the best. You know why?
Yeah,
Because and it's different in baseball too, right? In fact, it's harder in baseball because guys have ups and downs. They've lost
yeah.
Carlos Correa, who's a top 5 shortstop. They lost George Springer, who's a top 15 outfielder. And they're still chugging along. They lost Garrett Cole, who's a top 3 pitcher. They're better than they were before.
Yeah.
That's how you build teams. And it's
Yeah.
different. I get that. But in the NBA, if you go and draft, let's just use Memphis, for example. John Morant, Dylan Brooks, and Jaren Jackson. That's a core. And that team will
Yep.
stay together for the next at least 4 or 5 years. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But
And I mean, let's look at one that actually has been working. State Warriors.
yeah.
They were bad. They were very bad. They get Steph and Clay. They were still kind of bad. And Draymond, they start chugging along. They win a couple of rings. Things fall apart. They could have blew it up.
They could have blown
They
it out.
wait 2, 3 years. They're right back.
Yeah, and I
They're
mean
right
theirs
back.
is a little interesting because they essentially tanked. They essentially did a rebuild while these guys were hurt. So they had just 2 years of top 3 picks.
Yeah.
And so like that
And
was a
that's the thing.
really weird situation, but
But like they knew what they had to do. They kept their core. They rebuilt. They traded. They drafted. They made stuff happen, and then they're right there.
you
So
you ask anybody that's a Warriors fan if they had any fun in the bubble year. Ask them. They year sucked. They had no fun at all. It was bad. A year before that, they were the best team ever created. They were injured. They lost in the finals. They lose Kevin Durant, and then it's just a bad year. And now here they
re,
are. They're
re,
NBA champs now. Crazy.
rebuilding isn't fun, but I'll tell you what else isn't fun.
Mediocrity.
Thinking that you're gonna be good every single year. You look at the team, you're like, damn, we're gonna be good this year. We're making moves. Look how good we look. And then you get to the point where it's like, wow, we're right there. And then your heart is just ripped out from your chest. And now you're just sad for the rest of the season, the rest of the off season. And then you don't even want to come out of your house. You don't want to feel sun. You don't want to touch grass because the organization is just ripping everything from you. And yes, I am mad. I am very mad because every one of my teams except for the Yankees suck. Okay?
Perpetually suck. Say it. Say it. I said perpetually suck. Say it. I mean, it's true though, and it sucks. But another team making a move, another winner, Boston Celtics. They
Yes.
seem to always win every trade that they're ever a part of. They go and get Malcolm Brogdon. They pretty much traded. They traded Theis and Neesmith, 2 guys that just weren't even in the rotation in the playoffs. So they made it to the finals without these 2 guys. They give up a first round pick as well. They haven't had a first round pick in a couple years because they just give it up every year. But they're getting guys that contribute to a team that can win now. And they are clearly right on the door. And now they go get another great perimeter defender. So you add Brogdon to an already elite defensive group. And he's a really good guard that can like facilitate an offense, which the only gripe that I think anybody has with Marcus Smart is that he's not a point guard in the facilitation aspect, right? He can shoot, he can create his own shot. He's a great defender, but at the end of the day, it's really nice to have a guard that can really get other people open and get them good looks.
Yeah.
And when the Celtics offense felt stagnant, it was because they didn't really have that. They would give the ball to Jason Tatum and hope he would create something. And as you saw in the finals and the Heat series before, Tatum and Brown turned the ball over. That's not what you
A
want
lot.
out of the facilitators. So having a guy like
Yeah.
Brogdon who protects the ball pretty well, he's a very good passer uh, and a good defender. I don't see anything stopping them from being the favorites in the East at this point, besides maybe a healthy Bucks. And I do
Well,
think the Bucks were a better team. So
let's just go ahead and hop over to the Bucks because that's another one of my winners.
okay.
They don't really do anything too crazy, but they're making moves to just continue what they're doing. They bring back Bobby Portis on a 4-year deal when everybody really thought Bobby
It,
was going to
it,
go to
it
Golden
looked like
State.
it looked like he had one foot out the door, so that was a big win.
So you go ahead, you lock him down, you bring Serge Ibaka, you get Wesley Matthews again, you go get Joe Ingles, which is pretty nice.
Helps a little bit of shooting. Their 3-point
Pretty
shooting was
nice.
really bad in the playoffs, and that's part of why they
Yeah.
lost.
So like you add that to Drew Middleton, Antetokounmpo, Brooke Lopez, like this team is the favorite once again.
Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't be. I mean, again, Boston's going to be a really good. Boston will
And
probably be the
no
Vegas
question
ones.
about that.
Boston will probably
Yeah,
be the
no.
Vegas favorites, but it's easy to say in hindsight, right? But with Chris Middleton, the Bucks win that series. It went 7 without him. He didn't play a single
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And they won 7. And I still think they should have won that series. It just kind of didn't work
Yeah.
out that way because their role players didn't play well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they bring back Serge Ibaka, which is cool. They didn't do a whole lot, but bringing back those two
Yeah.
guys,
They made the moves they needed to make.
yeah.
Cool. And I don't think they're done.
No, I don't know
I
what
don't
else
think
they
they're
could do. They don't really have a
I
lot
don't
of
I don't
capital,
either,
but
but I don't think they're done. So
yeah,
as of right now, big winners.
big winners. Another winner for me is gonna be a lot of young guys. We saw a lot of rookie extensions. We saw
Mhm.
Lou Dort get a rookie extension. Obviously, we have Devin Booker. We had Zion Williamson sign his. We had I don't remember who else. There were so many of them. There was so many of them. Cat got
Cat.
another extension.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not a
Cat.
rookie one, but he got another extension. They were throwing out maxes left and right. Jalen Brunson, the first ever player to get $100 million plus contract with a new team that was never an All-Star before, which was very surprising. But actually it makes sense because if you have a guy who's relatively close to all-star caliber, you tend to keep him, at least on that first time around. But he wanted to go to the Knicks because they hired his dad. So shout out to elite, elite recruiting. Truly elite recruiting. I don't want to say the Knicks are a winner, but I actually do think the Knicks did a good job because they had two guys.
Especially after the draft.
Yeah, the draft was horrible.
No.
But they did dump a lot of money. I think they did way too much to get Brunson. Like it felt like they were playing 8D chess to try and get this guy when they could have just signed him. But they made cap space and they got rid of a lot of guys that didn't really fit on a team anymore.
Yeah.
And they're two guys that they wanted. They went and got. They were the number 1 and number 2 guys they wanted off the board because they knew these are realistic guys that we can go get and convince to come here. They got them both. So sounds like a W to me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Any other loser?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Let me talk to you.
Uh-oh.
What are you doing out there, Charlotte, bro?
Uh-oh.
Cause your team wilding. Because Miles Bridges, that boy.
Miles
boy
Bridges is the loser of the entire week last week. Like of everything that happened, he is the biggest loser. And he's a
Yeah,
loser as a person, right? I'll be on the record to say Miles Bridges, you're a loser.
because
Um,
you can't be out here doing that, bro.
in front
You
of your kid,
cannot be.
in front of your kid.
It's just it's as low as it gets. And then you look at the pictures of his girl,
And
and
it seemed like something that had been happening for a while, and she kind of dealt with and kind of dealt with, and then reaches a boiling point. Which shout out to her reaching a boiling point. Thank God, right? Because that
yeah,
shouldn't have happened at all.
no,
It's one of those situations that like these are just things you can't do. And
it's ridiculous that that's even a thing. And then what makes it even worse is that you have the picture of the him sipping lean, got the J rolled up right
yeah,
with
that's
it. So
funny.
it's like, all right, you're already wilding,
Whatever,
whatever.
yeah, whatever.
I don't care about that. Do what you do. Don't care.
It's the funny
Then you
kid move.
say Charlotte gonna give me that max, or I'm gonna go to Detroit.
Yeah, in a song, I'm gonna go
Cool,
somewhere else.
cool, whatever. Talk your talk. Love it. You're not doing it. Whatever. And then this comes out that you just gonna be out here. Not, I don't even know if you could call it hitting your girl,
No, it's
cause
just domestic abuse, just straight up, just
but
straight up abusing.
and then hearing his kid have to talk about it,
Bro, the craziest part about the kid, like the way he was talking about it,
ridiculous.
it felt so normal. It felt
It
like
felt
something.
so normal,
It felt like something that he's seen and like said before.
so normal.
You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't feel like a. I was so scared. Oh my god! It was like yeah, they were fighting again. You know,
So
it was like one of those.
Bridges needs to be one of those cases that out of the league. And then
Yeah.
you look at Montrezl Harrell.
Was it like 5 pounds of weed or something
I
like
think it
that?
was 3 pounds of weed
Jesus, dude.
in the trunk. It's just like, bro.
That's so
First
much.
of all,
For
there,
what?
there's two things I never understand with professional athletes. You drink, why do you drive? You got any sort of stuff on you. Why is it on you? Why can't you
Drugs,
just have
firearms,
somebody
anything.
why
Yeah.
can't you have somebody else bring it
Carry
to
it.
you or
Transport it.
have in a different car driving it? Why? Why are you even in the vicinity of it?
Then
That's
the next
ridiculous.
thing is, and this is kind of an everybody thing. If you do have those things on you, right? Say you're moving 3 pounds of weed, right? Because that's what you do in your off season. Even though you make millions already, but that's what you do in your off season. Whatever. Why are you speeding when you have that in your car? Why are you doing illegal things that can get you caught with a bigger illegal?
I've never understood that. I've never understood that. Like
What? You know, if you get pulled over, that everybody in the
it's
county can
curtains.
smell your car.
It's curtains. So it's like,
So
oh, I got all this
stupid,
stuff that I
bro.
shouldn't have. So let me do this other thing that I shouldn't be doing. So
That'll
I
get
can
me
get all
caught.
this attention
So
brought on me.
stupid,
And then
bro.
you're mad when you get caught.
It's
Like,
like when you buy a
no,
fast muscle car and you buy it bright red. It's like
duh.
it's like you're gonna get caught if you're going 120 because you're the red you're the red blinking flash of light going by.
It's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
Hornets, I feel bad for LaMelo because I love
Yeah.
me some
Yeah.
LaMelo, and I really want him to keep balling. But damn,
No, that's tough. Those are
this
two big pieces
team,
for that team too.
this
Um,
team is ridiculous.
and I also want it to be known part of why Miles is a loser too is he was about you know 48 hours away from signing a max, whether it was in Detroit or in Charlotte, and couldn't control himself. So he cost himself money. He cost himself jail time. I hope he goes to prison. There's no reason not to, and there's really no realistic reason why he ever plays in the NBA again. So
Yeah, if he doesn't go to prison, just don't let him back in the league
I
because
mean, yeah, he should
just
be done regardless. Whether he's in
there's no
prison
reason.
for a year and gets out or whatever, I don't know how that proceedings work, but he should never play another NBA game. And you know what? Good. We don't need him. Later, bozo.
Yeah, it's wild.
Later,
So
bozo. And that's
yeah.
kind of a good exaggerate or like a good sentence on like how free agency's been. It's just been wild. There's been a lot of free agency signings. I know we were putting out the graphics during it. We had like 40 posts that day of just different people signing.
We had like 40 within
Like an
2 hours.
hour, two
And on
hours.
that
Yeah.
note, make sure you go follow at Spectators Media.
Go follow at Spectators Media on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram, all that. if you're watching this on YouTube, I love you. Look at us. You can look at my beautiful face. You look at Brooklyn's beautiful face. Together, it's crazy. If not, go to YouTube. Watch us while we talk about this. It's a W. We have some vlogs coming out. We got an interview coming out this week as well. Another Spectators Unplugged is coming out. So we got some videos for you guys. Again, the TikToks are going well. I've been enjoying making some just like on the spot type of stuff. So go ahead and get on that. And that's pretty much all we got for you guys today. There was a lot of other deals, but these were the big ones. These are the ones that impacted us that we felt like were winners and losers. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be back again next week. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good one.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th.